All right, welcome to the maiden voyage of Terra Monstrum. I'm Chauncey, he's Tyler, and this evening we're going to start out talking about Sabrina, the new remake TV show. I guess it's a remake of a remake of a remake, now on Netflix.
Was there an original prior to the Sabrina that we know from our 90s childhoods? Or at least I know from my 90s childhood.
Well, of course, there was the comic book. So Sabrina originally came out as like a character in Archie comics, and they were expecting her to be a one-shot, but she was so popular that people called for her back, and she came back and back. And then eventually they put off her own series of comics. And then, of course, there was like some cartoons. Then there was the 90s thing, the 90s TV show. And then Archie Comics was like starting to die off, so they sort of did a new imprint of like Archie versus the Undead and Haunted Sabrina.
Yeah, I know Archie's gotten pretty weird in the last 5 years.
And then since then, there was actually a computer animated Sabrina show. And then now this new Netflix show is based off of that dark comic book.
Okay.
From that dark imprint of Archie Comics.
Now, out of curiosity, is that computer animated show as terrible as I picture it in my head?
Yes.
Okay.
Not only is the show itself terrible, but the art is just like that terrible era of trying to do computer art where it's just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
right there with you.
Easily my most unfortunate part of research for talking about this.
I'll handle the research next time. You can just let your brain rest. You won't have to watch any bad cartoons, I promise.
Well, I normally watch bad cartoons like for fun. So
Okay.
It wasn't that.
So it was actually maybe a joyful experience for you.
Yeah, like I'm halfway through the original He-Man, which is terrible. So it's not that bad. But Sabrina, I thought was rad. I'm of the two of us, I'm definitely more the horror movie one, and it definitely fed into my love of all things satanic and horror movie-ish.
Yeah. Now, I like my horror movies. You're definitely a tried and true horror cult member, whereas, my foot's in the water. I've dipped my toes, my foot's in the water, but I'm not fully submerged quite yet.
Yeah, my impression of you, although we haven't actually discussed this all that much, but my impression of you is that you have a little more class than I do when it comes to movies.
Oh, what? Not true, Chauncey.
I guess maybe you just have a broader view, because you were the one who introduced me to Turbo Kid, which was pretty...
Oh, Turbo Kid was so good.
Right, pretty lo-fi badass.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of Sabrina?
I really, really enjoyed it. I when I'm watching these shows, I'm usually looking for down episodes where it feels, like a serial story of the week, and I felt like Sabrina only had one of those. So we're talking, what was it, 13 episodes?
Yeah, about that.
So 12 out of 13 were super hits for me. And just overall, I really enjoyed her as a character because I like that she's absolutely willing to do the darkest witchcraft, which did leave me with some questions as to witchcraft skill. How's it grow? Where's the magic come from? Seems like she's just automatically able to do really amazing spells.
Yeah, she's like the one.
Yeah, but all the others seem pretty badass too. You had the three sirens.
Right. Like, where does it come from? Is it conviction, or is it some sort of magicometer?
Yeah. Where does it come from, and how do you get better? Because she seems to be starting at the top. Like, she's already doing the spells that people, I guess aren't supposed to be able to do, but it also seems like everybody can do any spell they want to at any point in time.
Right. I think about this a lot, actually, where magic comes from when I'm watching him. I thought that Doctor Strange did a good job of it. Like, he was a super genius, so he figured out how to get better faster.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, I'm really kind of having a hard time understanding, like, what this magic thing is anyway, because as a sciencey guy, I kind of feel like if magic does exist, it's just some science we don't get, But have you ever read, what is that book? The Witching Hour by Anne Rice?
I haven't.
So in that book, the witches...
Is that the porny one?
No. It's
okay.
That was like Eden or something like that.
Yeah.
So in the witching hour, they get their magic by there's actually like a spirit that follows their family that ends up latching on to certain people of generations, and that's where the magic comes from. And I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. In this one, you'd think she'd be half as strong because she's half a witch.
Yeah, you would, but she definitely has full witch strength, and still, again, they just seem to be able to grab a magic book and find the spell they want and go to town, and then it just goes off without a hitch, basically.
Right, yeah. There was definitely some kid elements to it, and if you're a person out there that wants nothing kiddie at all, this is probably not going to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got those, teenage drama elements, too. Because, of course, our main character is, I'm not sure how old she is in this, actually. But
I think she's like 17 or something.
Yeah.
16. Oh, no, she just turned 16 in it.
Okay.
That's her birthday in it.
Yeah.
Comes the
no, you're right. Yeah. But they've got driver's license. I mean, they're... At least it avoids the trappings of, like, high school drama, because I didn't feel like it had any of that in it.
I don't know.
Nice.
It was pretty Buffy. It was pretty Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It was a bit Buffy, but they didn't spend a lot of time in school. It wasn't like, I don't know. The school was there, but the focus was the characters, and they weren't constricting them to a school setting because of their age, I guess is how I saw it.
Yeah, that's true. It needed more gore, I think.
It could have used a bit more gore. No, I'll agree with you there.
Like you were talking on that Monster of the Week style episode, I always wonder about those, that they're like an experiment to try to see, like, well, if this main plot fails, can we write out these Monster of the Week episodes or something? But in that episode, I had the same problem that you had, and that's that the makeup was kind of corny. It was
it was bad. I enjoyed the backstories. Like, I enjoyed learning more about Zelda and other aunt whose name is eluding me at the moment. Like, I thought the backstory flashbacks were great, but the idea of this witch monster creature who's just like, my witch mummy doesn't love me.
Right.
So I'm going to run around and put everybody in a ghost trance.
Right. And they really kind of phoned in the backstory for the main witch baddie.
Yeah, for sure. And we've already seen that you can just crack open a spell book and do your thing. So do you not know a spell that can, I don't know, recall your monster familiar creature back to whence it came from?
Yeah, totally. Like, it was in the super box that the box would either drive you mad or you'd be put it back into it. But in the end, Zelda just puts it in a mason jar.
Yeah. So she just had sitting around at the ready in case.
Yeah, I agree. That was terrible. But, I guess I'm being a typical internet guy by sitting here and concentrating on the one terrible episode out of the rest of it, which I really enjoyed.
It's true, but it's still, this feeds into the broader question of the magic, so I don't feel like it's too off topic.
Right.
Because for me, that's the biggest, like, the biggest question it leaves me with. I do want to understand how it works, and I do want to know, is there a spell cutoff? Like, oh, this spell's 5 pages. That means we're going to see blowback from it, since later on in the series, they're like, oh, every spell has a cost. But that doesn't appear to be the case unless the spell eclipses a certain magnitude.
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way. With something with so much history, it should probably have a little bit of a better explanation. But to be fair, most of Archie's history has been about that level of depth.
Okay.
So, they were really just...
It's a canon experience we're getting here.
Yeah, they really sort of... So when they redid the imprint, there was like Archie versus the Undead or something. I forget exactly what it was called. And there was the Haunted Tales of Sabrina. And there was Vampire Veronica, where Veronica gets turned into a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Jughead the Hunger, where he's a werewolf.
I'm assuming there wasn't a lot of backstory into why these things were occurring.
I don't know. I haven't read the comics, but I'm definitely interested. But the big buzz is, like, if this is a success, are they going to make the other ones? So the two big buzzes going on right now was this Sabrina show was originally pitched at the CW to be a spin-off of the show Riverdale.
That makes so much sense.
They didn't pick it up. Netflix picked it up. And so now they're trying to figure out, are they in the same universe?
Mm-hmm.
And will there be a crossover? And then they're also, fans are speculating, like, if it's a success, will Riverdale sort of go over to this Archie versus the Undead, and will these other aspects of the sort of new Archie imprint start to come in or create new shows or so on and so forth?
Yeah. Now, I would assume not, because I thought Riverdale wasn't just based off those horror type comics. Didn't they continue it as kind of a radical, edgy reboot of Archie beyond the horror theme? They haven't had, as far as I know, they haven't. I didn't actually watch it. I've just read about it because it seemed a little too Dawson's Creek for me. Yeah.
And but what I've read is they've sort of made allusions to some supernatural things, but haven't actually had anything supernatural happen on the show for 3 seasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just leaving that door open and swinging, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. So. Yeah. But, Jughead the Hunger, I have to say, that title alone is like, I would watch that.
Yeah, it also makes me think he'd be a Revenant, though. I mean, my first thought is certainly zombie or Revenant Jughead versus werewolf. But, no, if he's like a scary man-eating awful werewolf, I think it's a great idea.
And does he have the little crown on?
Does he have the crown? Does the crown grow fur?
Right.
I don't know.
Does it get wedged in there in a big werewolf dreadlock?
Maybe.
But all in all, Sabrina, I'm all about it. Can't wait for the second season. I'm kind of a sucker for Netflix shows in general.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it overall. I thought the tone was good. The directing was well done. And the acting, of course, is what sells a silly show like that. It's it's the reason Supernatural's been on the air for 13 seasons.
Right, but I have to say that the Netflix shows, the reason why they're so good, I think, is because they take this sort of directing and cinematography up a notch.
Yeah, they do take it up a notch, and I think that they're willing to theme a show more than like a major network would be. Like that, they've got the cash. They're willing to risk doing a niche type project,
right?
Because they've got such a giant market share that even if it doesn't have global across the board every demographic appeal, there's so much more of a chance to reach the demographic it would appeal to than a public television show.
Yeah, and I probably just realized something that everybody else already knows, and that is that their whole marketing strategy is different. When Netflix puts out a show, they expect it to be binge-watched.
Yeah, 100%.
Where these episodic shows that are coming out on the CW don't expect that.
Yeah, and it's I think it's nice because they don't have to do a weekly hook or refresh you on everything that's gone on in every previous episode, each episode you watch. I don't know. It gives the viewer a little more, I don't know what word I'm looking for, Chauncey. I'm sorry. I'm still turkey tired from yesterday.
I don't blame you. Yeah, no, probably a little more like run on with the cliffhanger where it just sort of bleeds straight across. It's never picking up the next episode a week later. It's always picking up a second later.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And they really sort of are dragging you into this binge watch on purpose.
Yeah. But they do. I think what I want to say is that they treat the audience a little more intelligently. Like, you'll be capable of recalling how these pieces fit together versus we're going to need to show you every single time how all these pieces fit together every time we bring one up.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like you get what you pay for. Like, you're paying for Netflix, so you're expecting something a little better, where when you're watching the CW, you're basically only paying with your time on commercials.
Yeah, this is true.
And so like,
we're expecting you've already paid for it. They don't need to keep you around for an ad break.
Yeah, totally. But I have to say that I like it better. It is definitely better. When I was a kid, my creative life was ruined by Lord of the Rings and Robotech. because they were both so huge and epic that now I want everything epic. And to me, like watching Stranger Things, and I'm just, oh yeah, it's like an 8-hour movie. I'm just like, for some reason, I think that's great.
No, I feel you, but I think a lot of that again goes back to the upping the game in cinematography.
Yeah,
and sound design, costume design, etc. That makes it feel like a movie because they're bothering to do shots that they just aren't going to bother to do in a standard TV show.
Right. Especially with us coming out of this generation of television where it was all shaky handheld reality operating room stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So there wasn't really a lot of cinematography other than the fact that there's sort of reality television TV shots.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I'm glad that those two bridges have been gapped, really, because that was the difference between TV and film, movie film, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Is predominantly the directing and the shots that they're willing to do. And, now that we have, like, drones have made a giant difference as far as, smaller budgets being able to do these cool sweeping aerial shots.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, I've always said, like, with each genre of movie, great movies surpass and need everything, but each genre needs a specific thing. And I think horror needs good visuals, and I think the show surprisingly pulls it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think, you're doing a favor to a horror movie anytime you give it a distinct visual that carries throughout too.
Yeah.
So I also have not watched Riverdale, but certainly seeing the trailers for it, it looks like some of that kind of neon aesthetic.
Yeah.
Bled into Sabrina too.
Yeah, it's like constantly raining and neon-y. It looks like a Blade Runner in Riverdale for some reason.
Yeah. And I like that. It's dark. It's got an edgy feel, but, you can't, even in Sabrina, I can't quite place what time it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of, 50s, 60s looking cars in one scene. I don't recall them talking about the internet. So when does it take place? I don't know.
Yeah, Gotham is a lot like that, too.
Yeah, I never gave that one a shot.
Well, they're driving around in old cars and they're using cell phones, and you're all like, what exactly is going on here? When does this take place?
Does it have like a Batman the Animated Series aesthetic to it?
It tries to sort of bleed together all the sort of Gothams from all the looks of the films probably since Tim Burton's.
Okay. Yeah, I always thought animated series, they drew their own cars. Like nothing in that world actually existed, so it all looked like a melding between 90s and 30s aesthetics.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's cool.
Totally. Yeah, I agree, with the big old chins.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I got to say, Sabrina is a 100% thumbs up for me. I'm looking forward to another season.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. All right, I chose, fortunately or unfortunately, you want to say the title, Chauncey? Because I keep jumbling these words together.
The Night Comes for Us.
The Night Comes for Us. A bloody, bloody, bloody movie with some exceptional fight scenes and some that were just so cringeworthy. I had to cover my eyes a little bit.
Yeah, well, so action movies are something I like never watch, but every time I do watch them, I end up like loving them and watching them until the end.
Yeah.
So like I sort of went into this one begrudgingly.
Mm-hmm.
And then plus it was something that, I get made fun of a lot because I have a hard time watching movies with subtitles because I feel like I'm extra committed and I can't distract myself with something else if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into this begrudgingly. But then I ended up just getting totally sucked into it.
Now, have you seen The Raid, Chauncey?
No.
Oh, okay. Because the director of that produced this film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's a new director, but if you've seen The Raid, then a lot of the kind of action, the fluidity of the action and the way he frames his shots, there's it's obvious that he's influenced by, the director of the raid.
Right. Yeah. Well, it definitely had cool directing.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I thought, I thought the acting was good, save for the little girl. And good child actors are hard to find in any country.
I would say impossible.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. But this one also had really cool lighting, like we were talking about in the last one. The lighting in this one was it wasn't quite Suspiria level, but it definitely had like dim lighting with red on one side and blue on the other and yellow across the face.
Where it always feels like that weird time between dawn or dusk.
Yeah.
No, it's the lighting you get when you've woken up far too early and you're not going outside for a cigarette anymore. But if you were to,
right,
at 5:30 in the morning, that's the kind of lighting they're using throughout the film.
That's funny. Yeah, definitely. Have you ever seen Suspiria, the original?
No, I haven't.
We're going to have to watch that one. That one is just directorially lighting, hard line, hard lights, bright colors. And a lot of movies, when I see it, it makes me think of that.
Well, we will put it on the list.
All right. And, like you were saying with the kid, man, bad acting in other languages, in my opinion, becomes all the more obvious to me because other cultures, I think, act badly in different ways.
Yeah, see, I was thinking about that, and I wondered, since we're watching people, we don't understand the language, so you've got an issue where you don't know what the cadence and the tone are supposed to be to begin with. How many bad actors are there from foreign countries where if they were to show that movie in the native language in that country, they'd be like, oh, this is terrible, but poured it outside of that country, and suddenly, it's great. Looking at the massive success of, a film like Avengers overseas, how much of that is because, if we're sending these movies out overseas and they're bad, but they do really well, how much of that is because they just got really good voice actors to cover up the shitty acting from the film?
Right. Yeah. And really, what are we doing to the world if we're so influential on a movie level? We keep sending out these big budget, terrible acting movies.
Yeah. I mean, look at, something like, God, what's a good example? Trying to think of basically a version of an Adam Sandler film, but international in terms of
Adam
success.
Sandler films.
Let's go with something like The Meg. I mean, I didn't see it, didn't get great reviews, probably acted as well as you're gonna get from Jason Statham and Rose. What's her name? No, the woman who's gonna play the new Batgirl.
Oh, Amber Rose.
Amber Rose. There we go. Yeah. I mean, your level of acting, it's going to be low, but slap a different voice on them or even subtitle it to audience who doesn't know that, English language is necessarily supposed to follow a certain flow. Right. And they're not going to see all the problems with it.
No. Speaking of which, it's a bit off topic, but I watch a fair amount of cartoons and some of it's anime, and I'm always looking for the dub version instead of the subtitle version. And people are just all like, oh, the subtitle's so much better and stuff like that. It was dubbed to begin with. It's a cartoon. I can watch it dubbed if I want to. It was never anything but dubbed. But when it comes to a movie, I get it,
Yeah. But back to the film itself. I enjoyed it for what it was. If you're willing to, toss away, to me, it poses the great question of how many lives is a single life worth? Because for our audience members who haven't seen the movie, the rough plot is high-level ranking, basically Yakuza super assassin, has a turn of heart, saves a girl, betrays his order, and then the rest of the movie is trying to save this girl.
Right. Yeah.
Now, my question is...
After a whole village is already killed, too.
After a whole village is already killed. But based on how many people he kills and gets killed in the film, how many years of life is this little girl's life worth itself?
Totally. Was there no redemption for these people?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I understand the old Grizzly ones where he's like, ooh, I'm going to rope in my 45-year-old friends who used to be badasses, which is a total lie because everybody's like 30 in this movie.
Right.
But for age's sake here, I'm going to pull in my older friends. They're all grizzled and angry, and they've all hurt a bunch of people, and now they want to redeem themselves, blah, blah, blah. He also brings in his, like, 18-year-old cousin, right?
Yeah.
So what's our age difference there? We're talking 10 years between the 8-year-old girl and the 18-year-old cousin, but now the cousin's dead too?
Yeah. Spock would not have been all right with this.
No.
Spock would have given the needs of the many speech and just been done with it.
Yeah, well, I think it's a really fair point in this film.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, you got to get... It's an action movie, just like with everything. Like I was saying, with horror movie, you need visuals. With action, you need action, you know? And it definitely had that. I liked how quickly it moved through the plot. You know, it definitely wasn't slow. But I actually found it a little confusing at times. Like, I had to reconstruct what he was actually doing with the butcher. It's like now all of a sudden he's there for some money with the butcher, but it wasn't really very well explained.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
But of course, I'm a sucker for
like I didn't know why. Yeah, I didn't know why the butcher was holding on to his money to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, you know, it was easy to forget how long he had been away. So how much time has actually passed between the butcher betraying his group and running off the money versus I don't, you know, the other crew just making money on their own.
Yeah. But it definitely made up for itself being an action movie by having that butcher scene just be awesome.
Oh, yeah. No, that was super sweet.
Yeah. And the guy who he was like going after was such a slimy little dude. It was really awesomely put together. They had some really awesome characters.
They did. And
like White Boy
I've got
Bobby.
to say, yeah. No, White Boy Bobby was great.
Yeah.
But on the subject of White Boy Bobby, also, if a character's sacrificing himself for you, don't stick around. Run away.
Oh, yeah.
Chauncey. It's one of the most painful parts to me in movies when they do this. When a guy's like, get out of here. I'm about to basically kill myself for you. And his friend stands around and wastes valuable seconds.
Right, watching him kill himself as the guy thinks he's doing something, but then looks back and sees that his friend's there.
He's still
and he never
there.
once says, "What the hell are you doing?"
Right? That would be the first thing out of my mouth.
I'd be all kinds of pissed if I was White Boy Bobby.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and White Boy Bobby for one. I don't think he's white. I had to look up the actor on this one, and he not that I care if he's not that there's anything wrong with that, but he is like a model actor in the area. It's funny that they made him look so kind of like squirrely and messed up when he's actually more of a model than he is an actor.
That's funny because his performance reminded me of like Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that was the vibe I got. If you were doing an American remake, he would be White Boy Bobby in this American remake. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, he was like, and it would be perfect because he would be Benicio. He wouldn't be that white.
Yeah.
You know, which also made me notice in the movie. I'm not sure if it's. I think it was in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like interestingly multi-ethnic.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk about mainland people versus non-mainland people, and that, you know, that culturally definitely went more over my head than anything else.
Right. And as a typical American, you know, I don't know much about diversity in that part of the world, but I was under the impression that we were dealing with a lot of Chinese people, a lot of Japanese people, you know, a lot of South China people.
That's what I took away as far as mainland. I thought mainland, they were primarily discussing China.
Yeah.
Especially considering, you know, China thinks they have the rights to all the surrounding land.
Totally. And they had the crazy Norwegian chick.
Yeah.
You know, with the shaved head and stuff. And so it definitely had this Tarantino, Elmore Leonard kind of like fictitious world of multi-ethnic gangsters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I like.
Which is fun. It makes it feel like it spans the globe. Like, it makes it feel like a global gang. It makes it feel like there's all these players in all these other countries, who this
makes the world
are depending
bigger.
on this heroin trade and da-da-da.
Right, yeah. It makes the world bigger than, but depending on the heroin trade, that was something I liked too. The Six Seas, it had that whole samurai ninja movie aspect there too. So you could tell that the director was just sort of like Tarantino in the sense that he was just sort of a fan of all different sorts of things.
Yeah. No, it pulled in a lot of different aspects of the genre as a whole, and I thought melded them quite well. Surprisingly enough, like I have seen group fights I'm a fan of, like the hallway fight in Old Boy, for instance.
Yeah.
Here I didn't really care for the group fights because I thought they were so gory, but the female fight at the end, I thought was the best fight of the film. And then, of course, when he's in a one-on-one fight with his rival, I thought that was a really good one too. Yeah.
I thought so too. The female fight I think is funny. At least with the superhero movies, I don't watch a lot of American action movies, but I watch all the superhero movies. And like in the beginning, they were still holding on to this world of the female fight. And but now in this post Harvey Weinstein world, luckily people are getting away from the female fight. So I definitely, when I saw the female fight, I'm just all, oh, this is weird. They're pitting the girl against the girl, Yeah. Where like through the 80s and 90s, there was always the like second tier character girl versus girl fight while the main fight was going on.
Yeah. And I'm glad, I'm glad that they didn't necessarily, it didn't feel quite as segmented to me because we did establish that the people she's fighting are badass enough to seriously injure / kill our main character.
Right.
So I felt like that was a good way to establish her independently as just as strong as him, in that, he's already gone up against these characters she's fighting now and he had to escape.
Yeah, I agree. Just for me, it was like a bit of social commentary to look at it and go, we really don't see this in America anymore. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. It's 100%.
It was definitely an awesomely done.
I think everyone should fight everyone, Chauncey.
Yeah, totally.
A fist doesn't have a gender.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, that was my favorite fight because I really like the small scale better. I feel like
Tyler fights women all the time.
All the time. Yeah, I really like the small scale fights better because I feel like you get a better idea for their movements. To me, when you're watching this in-depth choreography, you're almost watching kung fu ballet, whatever you want to call it. It's so well thought out, and I like those sideways shots where it's one person facing the other and you really get to see their hand movements and their leg movements. And I thought that fight was one of the better examples where the camera's not moving as much, and a lot more focus on what they're doing and how they're fighting, which I always think is interesting.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I totally appreciated that about it because that's what I like about martial arts films is that to sort of see the action going on. I watch all the big budget cartoon stuff. Obviously, I was talking about the cartoons earlier. So watching the Transformers movies, I never even know what's going on. I'm all, some metal's moving around.
It's just a blur of CGI robot body parts.
Yeah. It's like, I never know what's going on, until it's over. And I'm all, oh, we must have won.
Yeah, no, it's like throwing a Lego model at a wall and seeing it explode and trying to pick out an individual Lego and what's happening with it. Yeah, it's just a mess of color. You don't know what's going on.
It has all the choreography of hucking a drum set down the stairs.
Yeah,
totally. So I definitely appreciate that. And from the little that I know of movies from the Asian cultures, man, they do it way better than us. Like 90s movies of Chow Yun-fat from China have some of just the raddest fight choreography. And a lot of them aren't even necessarily martial arts films. They're these sort of like Die Hard type films because Chow Yun-fat was not necessarily the martial arts guy. He was the jump around with guns guy. Yeah. And they still just had this beautiful choreography,
Yeah. No, I mean, certainly be interesting to look at cinematography and how it varies from country to country.
Yeah, it's just so hard to find it, and it's weird. We live here in America, and we, here I am of this self-made lame pop culture historian or whatever I like to jokingly refer to myself as. Yeah. But really my grasp of the world's arts is really our own, that we have exported to them and told them how great it was, when really they have their own stuff going on. You watch movies from England, as the horror movie junkie. I watch horror movies basically horror films out of the Commonwealth. Anything in the English Commonwealth are like totally the best, and I'm just is it because they have less money, or what is it? Do they have?
I would disagree. I still think The Eye, the original Japanese version of that film, was one of my favorites. My first introduction to horror, to like deep horror, was the original Ring.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah, no, I mean they yeah. I think they're really good with the ghost stories. So I guess we'd have to differentiate between horror and ghost. And if you're going non-gothic ghost story, like Asia's got it hands down.
Maybe we need to start
for gothic horror, then I think the Commonwealth probably has it beat.
Maybe we need a side project of finding the best Asian horror, because you're right, there's a lot of it out there, and I've avoided it because I'm embarrassed to say it, but because of the subtitles, I avoid it.
Oh, Chauncey, don't avoid it. There's some like, if we want to talk about cinematography, this is one of the most chilling scenes in any horror movie I've ever seen. It's in the eye. She's in an elevator. You can't see anything behind her, but they slowly move the camera, and you realize that there's this ghost facing the wall in the elevator, just hovering inches off the ground. And it slowly starts turning, and she's stuck in a moving elevator with this turning ghost. As you slowly, it's slowly revealed that there's a giant dent in his head because his head is caved in. It's gripping and terrifying.
All right, you're selling me.
Yeah.
You are definitely selling me. I am trying to live this life where I slow down.
I thought you were going to say where I never have to read.
No, my opposition to that is because I constantly feel like I should be doing multiple things, because I feel like, I got stuff to do or something like that. But I'm trying to consciously slow down with my life. So I think I'm going to have to start forcing some subtitled movies in at least once a week. Maybe that's part of my therapy.
I think it's a solid plan. There's plenty of subtitled movies I'm happy to introduce you to, Chauncey.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed The Night Comes For Us. And I think the fact that it was subtitled and I had to stare at it and really pull myself into it definitely helped me with the movie. Yeah.
Well, that, and I think even in a standard movie, if you don't pay attention for a second, you can miss a line. And with subtitles, I feel like it absolutely got another opportunity to fully take in what they're saying.
Right. Yeah, I do have an exercise bike I never use with a TV all mounted above it. My wife so nicely set it up in the corner with the TV mounted, just like the club.
Yeah.
And
cool.
I never use it, and I've been thinking I need to use that thing while watching subtitled stuff, because then I don't have to be too worried about the volume.
Hey, exercise for both of us, Chauncey, because my bike is in the garage and also on OfferUp for $30.
You just gave up.
I did.
Was that the missus told you to either use it or get rid of it?
Kinda. I mean, it was just sitting downstairs in the basement, so I figured I might as well move it to the garage since it's not being used no matter where it is.
Right. Because you're getting married soon, aren't you?
I am married. I got married.
Oh, it did happen?
Yeah.
How long ago did it happen?
3 weeks now.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations.
That's thanks.
Absolutely
Chauncey.
Awesome. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, it's nice. It feels a lot like it did before. But right. Now I got a ring on my finger.
Yeah. Well, she liked it.
Yeah.
So she put a ring on it.
Yeah. No, it was quiet. It was small, and we're gonna do a bigger party later in the summer.
Well, awesome. And she is she a movie fan?
Yeah, I would say less on the subtitles, probably more on the mainstream. But she actually, I don't like going to the movie theater, and almost the only time I ever go is when she drags me to the movie theater.
I see. Yeah,
I don't like paying a bunch of money for popcorn.
I don't either.
I don't like not being able to pause something and go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I do love going to the theater, but my wife hates it.
Yeah,
and so we never go to the theater. She doesn't necessarily like hate the experience. It's just back pain and stuff like that. So she,
Oh yeah, that's understandable.
She doesn't want to sit there for 2 hours, and so I just never go. I think since my 17-year-old daughter was born, I've probably seen 4 or 5 movies in the theater.
Yeah. Do you have any cheap theaters by your house? Because that definitely makes it more tempting.
Yeah, the Meg is playing it right now.
Oh, nice.
So I might be going to see the Meg this weekend.
I mean, you can't really go wrong with a B-grade shark movie.
No, you can't. Did you watch Deep Blue Sea?
Oh yeah.
With that awesome speech by Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, no, that movie's great for all the wrong reasons, but it's great.
But I mean, Jaws. Jaws was wonderful movie. Definitely the first super blockbuster film, and it was worth it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you've got innovative filming techniques. I'm sure that you've heard all of the nightmare stories about the robot shark that I have.
Oh yeah.
But you're dealing with a giant prosthetic shark that's breaking 24/7.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a Herculean effort if you think about it. It was a trial to get that film made.
Yeah, and to make a movie, we just don't really live in a world where they make movies with that sort of topic of that caliber any longer. It's like now we have Wrong Turn, we don't have Deliverance. Now we have the Meg, we don't have Jaws. I
guess we have I don't know. They still try, I suppose. Like The Gray is what first came to mind for me when you said we don't have movies like that anymore. I think
I didn't see that one. Was that good?
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a downed airplane, a bunch of guys in the woods, and a pack of wolves are stalking them.
Is it down the lines of The Edge?
Yeah, definitely down the lines of The Edge.
Yeah, The Edge was good.
Yeah, The Gray was mediocre. It's not.
All right. Well,
it was no Edge. I actually liked The Edge, and The Gray was so.
Yeah, right. Well, all right. That's it for our first gig. You've been listening to Terra Monstrum. He's Tyler. I'm Chauncey. Check us out next time.
We'll see you next week.